So I'm going to flip things a little bit here and give you guys, as the executives, a chance to ask our leaders in the audience anything that you might want to know about what they're interested in. So, Pam, do you want to start?
Yeah, so I think a question that I have is, you're young professionals, and what are the attributes of the best boss you've ever worked for? What are the attributes of the bosses that you're looking for in the future? What does that person look like?
Just raise your hand if you're brave enough to respond to that. We got one here. You got a mic coming behind you.
I'm Ryan Van Gelder with Cape Electric, but I think my biggest thing, and it's something my dad always did, you can have a boss or a leader, and to me, whenever you have a leader that will do what they ask you to do, so they're not just, that's actually getting their feet dirty, being able to do what they're asking you to do, instead of just constantly delegating, and they don't, my thing is I wouldn't ask somebody to do something if I wouldn't do it myself. And so I think that's one of the big attributes that I look for. So,
someone who walks the talk, right? Yeah. Jace?
I think one of my strongest mentors was a manager of mine, and really the allowing us to fail and also to succeed. Those that know me, I kind of always have ideas running through my head, and I usually blurt them out. And he, a lot of times, would allow us to implement it, to try it, and some were successful and some were not successful, and most of those, he had a pretty good idea if they were going to be successful or not, but rather than stopping us before, let us kind of play it out and then have a conversation about it after, and then just kind of taught us to, look at things from a different perspective and from all angles before, but, you kind of have to learn via failure and successes.
Thanks. Anyone else want to share any boss stories?
I would say the main thing I want in a boss would be someone who actually cares, not just about you professionally, but personally, because then they actually make sure that you are taking the time and having the work-life thing, because if you're unhappy with life, that means you're not going to do well at work, and vice versa. I had a commanding officer tell me one time that, I want you to report back to me every month, the names and how old of the kids of the people that work underneath you, and report back to me. And I had to do that, and of 30 different sailors that I commanded, and it changed because it said, hey, I actually care about that person. So I look for that same thing that I had to do when I was in the Navy. So.
Thank you. Let's take one more question. We have one more response. A couple more from you guys, and then we'll get another question from up front here.
My name is Ben Fordry with Border States in South Carolina. I like a boss that challenges me. I like a boss that's going to push me to the limit, that's going to make me get out of my comfort zone, that's going to tell me to do something I don't want to do, not just to put me in an uncomfortable situation, but to help me grow. So when I see a boss or leader, like you said, pushing me to grow, that shows me that, like you said, they care. So I need somebody that challenges me and pushes me.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I truly feel of having that relationship, being open, and not only just a work relationship. I think you got to have a relationship where you can feel comfortable and you can be open and talk about that. I think that's half the battle, where sometimes you're in a situation where you don't feel that comfort to be able to reach out to them and ask for their opinion, or ask what their direction would be, or if they're not giving you the direction, to be able to ask for it, more or less. So if you have that relationship, not only for work, but I guess you'd say as a friendship, as a relationship as well, I think you feel a bit more comfortable going to them and giving them your ideas and your opinions, where they're not going to put you down or shut you out. They're going to be open to what you have to say, and as a, like I said, as a friend wise too, they're looking after you more for support, and they care. They want to see you succeed. So I definitely feel that open relationship's good.
Thank you. Does anyone else up front have a question for? Oh, one more, sorry.
I'll make it quick. The golden rule, treat people the way you want to be treated. I'm newer to a leadership role, and one thing I'm learning quick is I much rather have a B or C player who's a great person and uplift them and turn them maybe into an A or B player than an A player off the bat who's just difficult to work with and not nice to others. So it's really nice to be important, but more importantly, it's important to be nice. So
It's great. One more, just one more. I promise we'll move on to the next question. Okay. Jump up, let yourself be known.
So I wanted to take a moment and say I think a great attribute of a great boss is someone who invests in that person, that makes you feel valued, makes you feel appreciated for your work, and even does actions that affect their personal life. And a perfect example, I have to just say this, is my boss flew out here at 5 a.m. in the morning. 5 a.m. in the morning to come here for our awards presentation this evening. And I think if nothing else, the actions speak a lot louder than words. So thank you, John. And I think he deserves a round of applause.
That was fantastic. Okay, Jason.
So we've obviously done, I mean, you're in this room because you're the next level leaders. I think everybody in every company, I think you know at this point that they're investing heavily in you. So I would like to turn it around and say we're talking about attracting talent. So assuming you're not an electrical engineer, assuming you didn't go electrical or you have an ID degree, can someone explain how they got to the industry?
I can start on that one. I kind of went the non-typical route personally. I was not an engineer. I was in school for public relations and communications, and I was actually recruited into the industry, not from a way that you might think. I was actually a waiter in college, and our director of industrial sales happened to be one of my tables that night, and I took care of him and like 20 of his family members. And it was one of those situations where I guess I had impressed him with my service level and the way I was able to handle the stress and the professionalism that it allowed him to sort of recruit me throughout the year during my senior year. So one of those atypical paths. I didn't really know anything about distribution or logistics or wholesale or anything to that effect, and it kind of took me down this weird road. That was over a decade ago, and it's been a pretty good journey so far. So, I always try to share that story with people because, I wasn't going through school, doing the EE program. I wasn't trying to get very technical. I was trying to work with people, and I wanted to go work for a sports team. So something I thought would be really cool and fun to do out of college. And here I'm getting, immersed into this new industry, which was crazy and kind of different for me. So I had no idea what I was getting into, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot longer to go into it. So.
Hey, we got another. Okay.
My name is Nick Hines. I'm with Raymond DeSteiger in Michigan. I'll lead off by saying that I have a Bachelor of Music Arts and Vocal Performance.
Well, let's hear a little bit.
Oh, no, if you're good at something, you don't do it for free, right?
Wow, good comeback.
Actually, before leaving school, I had some medical things happen that forced me to reassess my priorities and kind of the stability of my lifestyle. So I left school, wanted to get somewhat of a stable job, so I became a cigar representative. Nice and stable industry. I was actually sitting at a bar one night, introduced myself to the guy sitting next to me, and turns out he had known my parents and he was in the lighting industry. So he started talking to me about the future of the lighting industry, where things were heading, and how great of an opportunity it would be to get involved. So I kind of took a leap, jumped on board in something I knew nothing about. Found my way with Raymond DeSteiger, and it was more so. At that point I understood the industry, but the people that brought me in. And the conversations I had leading up to me joining onto that job gave me a real good sense of the kind of career I could have, and an actual career path and an opportunity to be mentored and have leadership that is constructive, and having the opportunities to put ideas into practical applications and being supported. And so it was more so, less light bulbs and fittings, and more the promise of being able to succeed and kind of use my outside of singing, use my strengths to make a career.
Thank you. Do we have one more queued up, and then we're going to go on to the to another question.
All right, my name is Ivana, and I'm also from Connection, just like Marcus. And I actually started with a bachelor's degree in environmental health and safety, and I started working at Connection as a safety intern. It turned out to be from 3 months to a year to then a year and a half, just all through college. And then I started speaking to David Rosenstein, and he asked me if I could be his administrative assistant. So I did that for a little bit, and then he just decided to challenge me more and more. And not only was I scheduling things, I just started working on projects for him and things like that. And now I'm actually, loved it so much that I really want to stay in this industry, and I'm learning way more. And now I'm going into purchasing and learning about projects and product, and it's just, I don't know, it's just really great.
So I think the takeaway here is that you could be a waiter at a karaoke bar studying, and we could find great talent anywhere. So we just got to keep our eyes open for the right characteristics and skills in people. We have one more question from anyone at the panel that they want to ask back, and then we'll flip things back for you guys to ask them some more.
Yeah, I guess I have a question. And just to allude to that, to the waiter, I carry my business card, and in our family, my kids will say, okay, so let's guess, would mom hire that person? So that's when we go out to eat, that's what we do. So believe me, I've handed off my business card to many of people when we've made a decision, because I think there's great people out there and don't have an opportunity to understand who we are and what the industry is. So looking at talent and where you come from, and especially in my case too, there's opportunities everywhere as long as you apply yourself. But my question is, maybe going back to what I had said before, is what do you look for, as the most important in your career, when you look at in your life, as far as joining a company? What is one of the most important things you look at? I look at in my role as benefits, as work-life balance, wellness, all of the above. What is something that, if you had to say that's the most important thing, outside of obviously compensation's huge, but beyond that, that's what I would want to know.
Great question.
Between career growth and flexibility to allow a good work-life, personal life balance. It's extremely important to me, more than anything actually, right now more than money. I've worked for a company where working 60, 70 hours a week and just a miserable SOB when I was at home, and it wasn't fun for anybody. Now 45, 50 hours a week, still make a great living, but I have a great family life, and that's more important to me than any dollar amount. You have limited time with your family, so you got to enjoy it.
Looking around, anyone else want to comment on that, aside from flexibility?
I got one. Eric with Omni Cable. I would say the culture, kind of what the company's all about. I know in previous companies that I worked for leading up to Omni Cable, I would always look at the company website, try to get a feel for it. But I always ask a ton of questions when I'm being interviewed, particularly about the company culture and kind of what the company's all about. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Up front.
Dan Messina, Renton House CED, Kansas City. I think the biggest thing, I've been doing this for a long time, and beyond the flexibility, beyond the perks, beyond the compensation, beyond the benefits, the satisfaction of a job well done, I think is lost, on some folks. And those, kind of going back to what you were saying, those are the qualities that I'm looking at when I'm building my team. Is how much does that affect you as an individual? It's huge for me to be able to walk away and know that we've gone into a situation that maybe turned bad, and we've made it good, or we've made someone's job easier, we've made a customer more successful. That's what makes me very happy.
Thank you. So we'll turn it back to the audience for any questions. Oh, do you have a comment on that?
Yeah. One thing that I'm Justin Stradley from Mayor. One thing that struck me whenever I went to interview with Mayor was how accessible the leadership was. And I was just there to interview for a normal job as a normal person, and got to meet the president, got to meet family owners, and just because I was there and they were interested. So I think that's really important for just your career growth and just how important you feel as a member of that family.
Thanks. I think Dan has a question here.
I got a question. So topic, the future of the industry. Having 3 manufacturers sitting on the panel, I think it's a unique opportunity to hear from you guys. What does the foundation of a successful distributor look like moving into the future? Are there unique aspects? Is there one thing that you can point out perhaps unique that maybe we're all not thinking about?
Greg, do you want to start that one off?
Yeah, I don't know if it's one, Dan, but I'll name a couple. So it's clearly people in succession, meaning people up and down your organization, not just the patriarchs, but you can see it, as you meet the 25 and 30-year-olds in the organization. So I think, that depth of talent is big, but also say innovation. And I'm not a techno geek. That's the electrical engineer here next to me. But I think just a passion for innovating and changing and evolving, whether it's websites, whether it's business models, how you do business, people who are looking to challenge the status quo. When you see companies like that, you say that's a company that's going to be around for the long time and very successful.